Okay, good morning. Today is Tuesday, the 5th day of Kislev, and we continue today the essay 4 in Kuntres Acharon. We're talking about the importance, the difference, what is more important, the learning of the Torah, or the doing the actual mitzvahs or the prayer. We began with the fact that today the main thing is, as the Arizal says, the most important thing now is the prayer. And yet, but the Alter Rebbe goes in to explain this, and doing so, he goes into the deeper meanings of the doing the mitzvahs, and he focuses on what the difference when we do a mitzvah versus understanding the greatness of Hashem, meditating about the greatness of God. The actual mitzvah is connecting to the very essence of Hashem, so to speak. It is like the difference between knowing the existence of it, knowing the existence of something, and really connecting to something, really connecting to the essence of something. I mean, we can use the example today. We're doing this class here from our children's home in Florida. You know, we come to visit the grandchildren. But with today's technology, you don't need to travel to go to see the grandchildren. You go, you see them on Zoom and WhatsApp and video chatting, and you see everything. But that's not the same. You want to come and really have the grandchild and the children, you want to have the real thing. You don't want to have the knowing the existence of them. You want to have them. So in a way, perhaps this is a sort of an analogy to what we're talking about. The difference between knowing Hashem, knowing the greatness of Hashem, you can only reach it a certain point. It is climbing from down, going up. But when you're having the Hashem himself comes down and brings down himself into the physical mitzvahs, and we do those mitzvahs, this is when we have Hashem, the connecting to the very essence of Hashem himself. So let's look inside the Alter Rebbe's, the lesson from today's Tanya. Says the Alter Rebbe here, She'en kein Maise mitzvahs, Maise Elokim heima. It says, as for the performance of the mitzvahs, these are the works of Hashem. It says, unlike the other worldly actions, from which divinity is utterly concealed, Alter Rebbe now explains how this comes about. So, when you talk, the other worldly things also comes from Hashem, but it is concealed. The godliness is concealed. You see just a physical thing. But the mitzvah, when you fulfill a mitzvah, which is Hashem placed himself into this physical world, and when you do that mitzvah, you really connect to Hashem himself. Says the Alter Rebbe, b'derech ishtalshelus mikelim da'atzilus lebriya yetzira v'asiya mimahuson v'atzmusam l'chitzaniyusam. So he says, how does it come about? He says, in the process of the chain of descent from the vessels of Atzilus to Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, which as we explained, those are the 4 spiritual worlds. The higher it is, Atzilus is the highest world, which is godliness revealed, going down to the lower levels, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. Each world has more and more concealment of godliness. says, for the vessels of Atzilus that descend into these worlds are the divinity of these worlds, from the very nature and essence of their external aspect. The Alter Rebbe brings an example of the esrog. You take an esrog, the citrus fruit that we make the bracha on Sukkot together with the lulav, uminov, with the other kinds that you take together and do the mitzvah. So what happens there? Ilbish bahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu mimehuson ve'atzmuson dechasodim pnimim dezeir anpin. The Holy One, blessed be He, clothed something of the very nature and essence of the internal attribute of kindness of Zah. As we explained, the Ampin Zah is the 6 emotive attributes of Atzilus, of the highest world, Zah of Atzilus. And in the Esrog, the Shem clothed something from the Zah of Atzilus, from the Chesed of Zah of Atzilus, and all the way down into the physical aspect. Meaning from their outward state, from the external aspect of these internal attributes. So the external aspect of these attributes became the physical esrog, the physical fruits. As is known in the case of all mitzvahs that require action. And this contrast this to the understanding of a person, understanding of the greatness of God. He says that's not even close. He says, Masha'enkein or Adam, man by contrast, who by means of his intellect or spiritual emotions can attain intellectually generated love and fear. Yes, you can. You can attain the greatness, love of Hashem, fear of Hashem from your great studying, the deep studying and understanding in the greatness of Hashem. Afilu yesh neshama d'Atzilus. It's not the same as the mitzvah, even if a person has, even those who possess a soul of Atzilus, that means a soul that comes from the highest spiritual world, still, it cannot achieve the same connection. Why not? It says, Me'achar shemelubeshes baguf, yet since it is clothed in a body, lo yuchal limtze benafshoy, ulehasig mehuson ve'atzmuson shel pnimius achasadim dizeiram pin de'atzilus. He cannot detect and apprehend through his soul the nature and essence of the inward attributes of kindness of Atzilus. Why not? So he explains, Ki Atzilus ibchinas chaya, bichlolus ha'olamas Atzilus bria yitzira asiya. Because the eternal term of Atzilus, because it says, in general terms, Atzilus represents the state of chaya, in the 4 worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Now, what does that mean? We spoke about in the past that you have, in the neshama, there's 5 levels of the soul. There's nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida. The soul has the part called nefesh. The nefesh is connected with the action, the soul that is connected with the action of the person. Ruach is this part of the soul that is connected with the emotions. Neshama is the part of the soul that is connected with the intellect. Those are the 3 parts of the soul that are inwardly connected with the person. Then you have the 2 higher parts of the neshama, which is called the makif. They encompass, they transcend the body. They're the source of the soul up in a higher world that affects us, but not in a direct way, in a transcendent way, in an encompassing way. Just like in human terms, a human analogy, you have the concept of the willpower. The will is above the logic. It is not something that you can really connect to it. It is something which affects you, but it's above you. It has more power than you. So when we're talking about, well, the Alter Rebbe says here, the level of Atzilus, these 5 levels, it also can correspond to the worlds. But more particularly, the 4 lower levels are the 4 worlds. The world of Asiya is connected with action, with the nefesh. The world of Yetzirah, the 3rd world, is connected with the ruach, with the emotions, with the spirit. The world of Beriah is connected with neshama. And the world of Atzilus is connected with Chaya. So being that Chaya is an encompassing thing, so that is why a person, no matter how much you try to understand, you cannot reach there. You cannot grasp the essence. You can know of the existence of it. You can see it in a video, if you were using the example we used, the analogy. But you cannot have it. You cannot see the essence of it. This is beyond our seeing. Continues the Alter Rebbe. That's what he says. Ki Atzilus b'chinas Chaya. It is the level of Chaya. She b'chinas makif melamayla ve'eina mislabeshes b'kli klal. Because Chaya denotes encompassing transcendence, not being vested within any vessel whatsoever. The only thing that you do comprehend is the existence of it. With regard to the internal attributes of kindness of Zah, man is able to apprehend only their existence through intellectually generated awe and love. Okay, so you cannot really get the real thing to see the actual thing. Now says the Alter Rebbe, wait a second. We do find by Moshe Rabbeinu, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem says, "Vero'isu sachoira," you will see my back, my hind part. So if the difference, we know what the difference between hearing and seeing is when you hear the existence of something. When you see the actual thing. When we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu seeing, it seems like that you can really achieve in the intellect, you can really achieve of seeing the actual thing. And here we say that the only way of connecting to the essence of something is only by the mitzvah, not by understanding. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that this is a different, because this is the idea of the concept of prophecy. In prophecy, the prophet, in order to be able to see godliness, the prophet really needs to be completely out of his physical body, in a sense. That's why the prophets, whenever the prophets had prophecy, the Rambam describes the prophecy, the prophets would not be in the regular state of being in the alert state. They would be in a state of out of the body. They would be like shivering and shaking and being completely out of themselves. Because you cannot receive the actual seeing the prophecy, because the body is a concealment. It does not allow. It is an encompassing power that the body is not able to receive. This is why Moshe Rabbeinu, when he received that level of prophecy, he needed to be separated from the physical world. That's why he had to separate from his wife. He could not be in the physical, actual being when you have the prophecy. Continues, that's what he says. As to the statement, you shall see my hind part, and seeing penetrates to the essence of a matter. This refers only to prophecy, for prophecy entails divestment of the physical, as explained in Raya Mehemne Parshas Mishpatim. It says this then is the reason. Because no created being is capable of grasping anything whatsoever of the essence of divinity, the Creator. And without comprehension, there is no real investiture, or grasping, or cleaving. So there is no real connection to the very essence. That is through the understanding. However, the difference is when it comes to doing the actual physical mitzvah. Then you connect to the very essence. Why? So he explains the Alter Rebbe, however, as to the esrog by way of example, chayusoi nimshecha v'nishtal shelo mimahus chitzonis the kelim the nukva the zeir ampidatzilus. Its life is drawn and descends from the very essence of the outer aspect of the vessels of nukva of Atzilus. I'm not going to go into all the different levels, but the point he's saying here is that the Esra comes from the very vessels, or what we said, from Atzilus, the highest world. The world of Atzilus is truly a state of divinity. As it says in Etz Chaim, from the Arizal, it says, all the fruits are rooted in Atzilus. All of the fruits are rooted in Atzilus. For that matter, all of the creatures, physical creatures in the world, are rooted in Atzilus, in the world of Atzilus. Why? For the 30 vessels of Atzilus descended into Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiya. What is the idea of the 30 vessels? So every world has, it's divided into 10 attributes, but in general it's also divided into the beginning, middle, and end, which is 3, and each one of them is made of 10. So those are 30 vessels of Atzilus. They come down to the world of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. And these are the 10 utterances by which the world was created. This is through the enclothement of the nukva of Asiya, the essence in essence. So we have the essence of the higher world going down and bringing down the creation of the essence of the lower world. So the very essence of the higher world is in the physical creation. Ki akelim da atzilus nasu neshama ba'asiya, shebchinas elikus mamish, because the vessels of Atzilus became the soul of Asiya, which is actually a state of divinity. And again, because why? Because Lafish Atzilus iyu v'gamoyichad amatzel v'anetzel. Because in Atzilus, he and his vessels are one. The emanator, the infinite light of Hashem, and the emanation, the vessels of Atzilus, they are all one. Validei islapshus mehusa neshama b'musa kelim the nukva nasiya nisava esrik. And through the enclothement of the essence of the soul of the vessels of Atzilus, in the essence of the vessels of Nukva, meaning the Malchus of Asiya, the Esrog came into being. So therefore, what happens when you grab the Esrog in your hand and you shake it on Sukkot? The result is that in holding the Esrog and waving it as the law requires, Arei ze toifes mamesh chayusei amelubash boi menukve d'Atzilus. One is actually holding the life force, which is clothed within it, and which derives from the nukva, the malchus of Atzilus. And the malchus is united with the infinite Ein Sof light, the emanator of Atzilus, blessed be He. So this is why the actual mitzvah is connecting and with the very essence of Hashem. But you may ask, but what about the other creatures of this world? If everything is now connected, as we explained over here, that all the fruits come from Atzilus, then what's the difference between the esrog and any other fruit? You might as well grab something else. But of course, in the other fruits and the other creatures of the world, the godliness is concealed. But when you have an esrog, he says that the bottom line is that every creature in this world comes from the essence of Atzilus, is really invested in the physical being. But in the esrog, you have the godliness revealed in it, because this is the Hashem wants that we should grab the esrog and hold it and unsukkos and shake it. And the same thing is with every other mitzvah. And contrast this to the meditation. But by the meditation, when you understand the mitzvahs, it's not the same. So this is not the case concerning one's intention while performing the mitzvah of the esrog. Einay masi v'toifes. Here, even if he is familiar with the mystical, Kabbalistic, and Hasidic meaning involved, he does not grasp and hold on to the essence of Malchus of Atzilus, the source of the esrog. But only the external fact of its mere existence. So that's the difference between and studying the meaning of the esrog, the Kabbalistic meaning of the esrog, or actual taking the esrog. The mitzvah itself is connecting to the very essence of the esrog, a meaning that you connect to the very essence of Malchus of Atzilus, which is one with Hashem. However, the Alter Rebbe says also, when it comes to the performing the mitzvah, there's also a way of performing the mitzvah by studying the mitzvah, studying the laws of the mitzvah. Like there's a law before the holiday, 30 days before the holiday, you're supposed to study the laws. There too, you also connect to the very essence. However, by studying the laws of the esrog, one does attain and grasp the esrog proper and its mitzvah appropriately by speech and thought. Now, even more so, he who studies the esoteric dimension, when you understand the deeper meaning of the mitzvah, then you connect it also to the very essence of the mitzvah. However, here the Alter Rebbe comes to make an important differentiation between when you study the mitzvah itself or when you study just the spiritual worlds. In a way, it's different between studying the Hasidus, that you study about the mitzvah and how you get connected to Hashem through the mitzvah, or you study just the Kabbalah, Kabbalistic knowledge for the sake of knowledge and knowing more mystical things. So that's what it says. This, however, refers only to the study of the Kabbalistic mysteries of the mitzvah itself. The leigora melimud el-chaseya v'ad b'chula. For this is not inferior to the study of its laws, indeed quite the contrary. When you study the deeper meaning of the mitzvah, your connection with Hashem gets even deeper and stronger. Even though he does not apprehend the essence of the spiritual intent of the mitzvah as it applies to the visage of Atzilus, says moreover, in understanding of the essence of the esrog, the object with which the mitzvah is observed, grants him some comprehension of the essence of the mystical reaches of the subject at large. So what is he saying here? That when you study the mitzvah, you connect also to the mitzvah itself. Ultimately, it's a very fine differentiation between studying the secrets of the mitzvah and studying that, knowing the Kabbalistic knowledge in general. And they say that the Kabbalists, they turned godliness, they humanized godliness in a sense. And the Hasidus came and made humans godly. So there's a big difference. What does it mean humanizing godliness? It's like when you're talking, you learn just the Kabbalah. You're learning all about Hashem, about godliness, godly emanation, the creation and everything, and all of the different worlds and the chain-like descent and all of the different, you're mapping out the way Hashem created the world, and all you're taking it in very human terms. So you're humanizing godliness in a way, and especially if you don't really understand it, it becomes really very humanized, because you put it in your own understanding. Hasidus does the opposite. Hasidus takes the human, and you connect and you learn the mystics of the mitzvah, and it gets you the feeling and understanding and the feeling of you becoming godly. That by doing a certain simple mitzvah, you're being elevated to and connected to the very highest essence of Hashem, to the highest levels. This is why it is important to not only to do the mitzvahs, of course, but it's important to do the mitzvah with knowing the mitzvah, the halachas of the mitzvah, and knowing also the mystical part through learning the Hasidus. So this is the end of today's shir. Thank you so much for joining. Mitzvah Hashem. We'll see you tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem, 9 a.m. All the best.